My video about black men not going to college got comments all over the map.
Yo, you know I'm on that gas. So anyway, wifey, as you can see, I got the microphone, I got my little setup. Wifey told me I gotta start talking more. Because at home, I'm a generational yapper, but when I get online, all I do is rap. Because I'd be like, no one wants to hear me yap, but like whatever, I guess. So anyway, yeah, this has been a conversation that's been in my circle like heavy for a couple weeks now. Why are black men not going to college? Black women are greatly outpacing us in enrollment, achieving degrees, look up those numbers. Ray actually mentions some of those in his video. His video he cooked and watch his joint. But why didn't I go to college? I was just thinking about this for myself. Um, so, like, I'm 34. I was born in Camden, New Jersey. Um, I didn't have a dad. I don't know who my dad is. Shout out to the pops, whoever he is. My mom was on drugs, and I saw her. But I was raised by older family members who they were on a fixed income, both retired. My person I call dad went to the military, years ago. But ultimately, they're both on a fixed income. They're both like unplugged from culture. And growing up in the projects to older folks is it's a experience. If anybody ever went through that or knows anybody, you won't be caught up on culture. A lot of loners are kids of elderly folks, and especially in the projects. But anyway, I digress. My point in telling you all that is that like I didn't have like older siblings. Like I didn't really know my cousins. I was a really, you know, a really small family unit. Didn't have that connection, that culture. So I didn't see anybody going to college. I didn't see anybody prepping for it, going, I didn't see anybody off or have get any stories. When I think about it, I actually don't think I know anybody that went to college or like I knew people that had went, but they just never talked to me about it. Um, so that's number one. Then also, being real, was thinking about this earlier. It's kind of sad, but when they ask kids like, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I never really had like an answer that I actually like really believed. It was just kind of like, "Oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to build houses." I used to say that I want to build houses. Houses are cool. I didn't know. Um, or to word that better, I didn't actually think that through. I never really like actually inherently saw myself in a career, which is kind of wild to think about, right? Um, and then also something about me, I'm a dropout. So this whole conversation, this isn't me as some dude with degrees sitting back like, oh, I made it. Like, no, I didn't. I'm 30. I still haven't been to college. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I was a terrible student, man. I was a class clown. I was a yapper. I was the plug all through school. Um, I got expelled from Pfeiffer Middle School um, for selling this kid fake yay, and I got left back a year sent to the immediate school. Yeah, I was a bad kid. Which people that know me now, it's like, yo, you were wilding, yeah. I was in the streets, I was wilding. But again, why do I say all of that? Kind of leads me to like really the point of this video, a concept that I've been like thinking about for years now, but I haven't really heard it talked about in certain contexts. But like, okay, black men, why are we not catching up to black women in a lot of these metrics? Like we're just talking about college here, but you could use like a general amorphous, like emotional intelligence, uh, sort of scale. Black women are killing us, right? Um, I would argue, I would argue that black male cool is one of our, it is our natural export as black men. Now obviously black cool across the board. I might to be please let me be very clear. I'm not in any way saying like black male cool is more salient or like better, more stark than like female cool. What I'm saying is the way that cool impacts us, and it impacts our drive. I think that for black men, our cool, our swag, our dance, our fashion, our music, the way we talk, it's driven so much culture in this country for so long that I think that we've, especially after the crack era, where our, black socialists were scattered at this point, we really did not have um, the best guiding star throughout the 80s and early 90s in terms of like political schools of thought. When you combine that with the crack era, just like decimating communities and, that plus the economy, limiting, NAFTA factory jobs used in overseas. All these things led to just black men's economic viability being greatly impacted. But one thing we always had was cool. A nigga could rap, nigga could dance, sing, dress, or even just like outside of the economic stuff, like just on an interpersonal level. Like we look at all the dating conversations. A lot of these used to be socially lubricated by the fact that niggas got swag and that even though Shorty says she don't date men under 6'1" that make less than like 90K a year or whatever the case may be, when you roll up on her, you know what I mean? Niggas have historically been able to, bypass those restrictions because like, hey, look at a nigga, you know what I mean? And again, I say that as a great thing, and like I'm a rapper, you know what I mean? I'm a cool nigga myself. But ultimately, the downside to that natural just thing that we've had is that we had a unique stew of like all those things I mentioned, the crack era, you know what I mean? You know, um, the school to prison pipeline, just all these things that while they impacted the whole community and like none of this happened to black men in a vacuum. Like I just want to be very clear. It's not like I'm saying like black men were separated and specifically hurt. I'm saying that the hurt that the entire community did impacted us in just a different way, and it continues to. And the mention of that cool, Lupe is my goat, by the way. But that cool it impacts us, and I'm gonna bring up a word, hegemony. Um, Hegemony is the drive behind systems. You know what I mean? Like systems are rarely enforced by someone directly walking over and be like, you need to be more misogynistic. You need to do that to be masculine because otherwise it's gay. Like you kind of rarely get someone directly tell you that. Once you get the system in your head, you know what I mean? Once it gets wrapped up into your psyche, hegemony is the thing that makes you be afraid to go outside of that system. You know what I mean? And that stew has whipped up a batch of what the fuck that has like really trapped brothers. And while again, there's like I'm always gonna flip back and forth between the positives of black male cool, our culture. Um, there's negative aspects to it that it's hard to really have real conversations about them because there's so much context and nuance. But I'm gonna center on myself. Um, I don't know. I don't what it is about the culture and like, the culture slash my upbringing, and I'm leaning more on my upbringing, but I was influenced by the culture. What is it about all of that that just like, because I don't think I was ever like anti-intellectual, there's always like there's an inherent distrust of institutions that's in black culture. But that distrust like hits black men more. You know what I mean? We distrust institutions way more than black women on average, I think, which I'd argue is a net negative. You know, brothers don't be going to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? Won't be going to get routine checkups and whatnot until I'm guilty of this myself. Um, And I don't even really have a point with this video. I'm unpacking this kind of to myself in public. And um, sort of, explaining those terms to make sure y'all can understand what I'm saying. But I don't know, man.